So I just got back in from Vietnam late this afternoon, came down with a tummy bug and all that stuff, and whatever, the show must go on. And I got some questions in the last parts hunt about how I do the traveling and how I make things work. I think there's this misunderstanding that I'm paying for everything, like I'm actually going out of my way to go to Vietnam just to do a used parts hunt, which would really knock the price performance out of crazy ratios, because then I'd be paying thousands of dollars for air tickets and accommodation just to hunt $100 and $200 graphics cards, and that's not the case at all. We'll talk about all that a little bit later, because right before I left Vietnam, a subscriber, you may have seen him at the end of the GOC video, Boo, he took me around to a local PC shop, Star Computer. It's got a different name in Vietnamese, I cannot pronounce it for the life of me. And we went there and they got mining graphics cards, P106s, which essentially are GTX 1060 6GB. And I was able to pick one of those up for 1.3 million dong, which in Australian dollar terms would be like 75 Aussie dollars. In USD it would be under 60 US dollars. So this one I got doesn't have any display outs, though I'm going to try and get it working through the motherboard's graphics by using the GPU as the engine. Apparently you can do that, so stay tuned. I'll have a video coming out very soon to see if I can get that working. But we also managed to get an RX 470 4GB, and this has a DVI out, and we got this for 950,000 dong. It's a Sapphire Nitro version. Hopefully this will just work off the DVI cable itself, and if so, that'll be a great bargain. Coming in with USD pricing of that of close to like 45 USD or something, and then in Aussie dollar terms like 65 Aussie, which is ridiculously cheap for cards of this caliber. Now the VGA BIOS on these cards is different to that of a gaming graphics card, so I'm going to see if I can even mod that to see if it can perform to that of the gaming variants. And one thing about these mining cards is there are a lot of them now, especially now that crypto has bottomed out. There's even more and more of these cards coming up for sale pretty much everywhere now. It is a flood of graphics cards, and it's probably only even going to get worse going into Christmas. But anyway, guys, let's get on to the main topic of today's video, and that is traveling and how I do things. Because lately I seem to be going to a lot of different places and doing parts hunts, and people are like, damn Brian, you must be rich. And believe me, I'm not. My YouTube channel doesn't make a whole lot of money. It has picked up a bit since the adpocalypse, which is great, so I'm not so stressed. I can eat more than baked beans now. But when it comes to traveling, I do extract maximum value out of these trips. If you've noticed that every time I've been to a different country other than Australia, whether it be Italy or Thailand and now Vietnam, I've always had to cover an event, whether it be for AMD or in this case it was for Galax. They asked me, look, we'll pay for your flights and accommodation, and you come over and film our event and let the audience know about what our latest release is or what we're doing. And I'm more than happy to do that, pretty much just for flights and accommodation, because I do want to see new places in the world, because I hardly traveled at all when I was younger. And so when these places come up, I'm like, well, great. I can give the audience a used PC parts hunt at this particular place. Plus I could just go on overdrive with work and then get the content done for the particular company. And so it's worked out so far. You guys are definitely loving it by the feedback I'm getting in some of these videos. So I guess I'm just gonna keep this up. Whichever company decides to bring me to a particular event, I'm more than grateful to go there and just cover it for them. And then on the bonus side, just go around and learn that whole area. And plus for me personally, I think it's a big challenge, because I just go to these places solo and then essentially just go YOLO. And it works out. It always has worked out, except for Italy. That was pretty tough. That was probably the toughest parts hunt I've done yet, because I only had 3 days there and I was shooting for all 3 days for AMD. So I had very little time to do a parts hunt, and the one really good deal that we came into the guy ended up pretty much running away. So with the deals itself, I'm only ever going to get a deal if it's a proper deal. Like, I'm not going to overpay for something, or I'm not going to go, hey, I got an i7 3770K for $200. That wouldn't be a deal. And so I always pass up bad deals. But when something like Vietnam, for example, when a 1063 gigabyte from BioStar came up for a really good price, cheaper than I could get it for even a really good price in Australia, then I'll jump on those deals. Now, in terms of how I travel and how I edit videos out on the fly, I use the Intel NUC And when it comes to what's inside that NUC, I've got 32 gigabytes of DDR4 SODIMM and also 1 terabyte NVMe, both of which I hustled deals off Gumtree. So everything I do on the channel, I guess, has the passion showing through. It's not just the videos that you see, it's also behind the scenes. Everything I do, I try and get a deal. Just like the traveling, I try to get a deal where I go bargain hunting in that particular country, doing something else, covering an event, for example. So I guess at this stage, maybe the companies enjoy watching the content as well, because I do seem to be getting flown out more and more to these events every year. And honestly, it is a blessing, but it is a lot of hard work. So in the hotels themselves, I'll usually have a TV or a monitor. In the case of Vietnam, I actually pulled the TV off the wall mount and used it like a normal desktop setup, and that's where I can get my work done really effectively and efficiently. For me, I've tried a laptop in the past and I just can't work as fast as I can with a dedicated keyboard and mouse and a bigger screen. I find that helps me get videos done way more efficiently, and so I can get you guys the content day in, day out. But from time to time, there will be some problems, like the AMD video where there was sort of like this ringing coming through, and that was actually from the hotel room, and I oddly enough just thought it was my tinnitus. Because there was some big soccer match the night before with Vietnam versus Philippines, and Vietnam won, so literally the whole streets of Saigon became just one big party. That was absolutely out of control. But what about Vietnam itself? And I think a lot of the viewers thought when I went to Vietnam, I would have been the guy who got hustled. And believe me, some people did try to hustle me hard. The taxi driver, for example, when I first docked in, he was actually trying to take money out of my wallet. And I grabbed his hand, I slammed it back into his chest. I said, "Don't touch my wallet." And at that stage, I think he kind of was like shaking a little bit. I'm like, dude, you know, you're trying to steal my money. And I had my phone with roaming on, so I had internet. So if it's one thing, if you come to Vietnam, make sure you got a smartphone with internet going straight away, so you can just Google on the fly if something's a bit fishy. But the taxi driver ended up taking me to my hotel, and he wanted to charge me like about $50. And I said, no way. I checked the average price, it was around about $10 to $15. So I just gave him $15 on the generous side, and I said, please don't try to scam me next time, and then just slammed the door and walked out. But other than that, the one thing I was really annoyed about with the taxi ranks was I went to the official taxi rank, and the guy came to pick me up, and I'm asking the other guys there, I'm like, yo, is this taxi okay? And the other two guys at the taxi rank are nodding, and they're like, yep, he's fine. So that was kind of like the first problem I came into with Vietnam. And if it's one thing, if you guys are traveling to Vietnam, just install an application called Grab. It's like Uber, but it'll just save you any hassles of having to be hustled or scammed by taxi drivers, because you'll know exactly where you're going and what you're getting. So definitely install that if you come to the country. Also, in terms of exchanging money, I went to a bank in the middle of the city. They gave the best rates. It was like a 2% spread, as opposed to the airports, they'll charge you like 9% on your money. So definitely want to change it over a bank. But anyway, the next crazy thing about Vietnam, and one thing I haven't experienced out of the whole time I've been traveling, was the misrepresentation of my first hotel. I booked it on agoda.com, and they said it was a 4-star hotel. And when I went into this hotel, I actually show some photos for you guys. It was filthy, like it was just disgusting. I'm like, I am not staying in this hotel. It was a dirty pillow, there was hair over the couch, and it was just filthy in general, like running paint. And I'm pretty sure I got a headache from the paint fumes, that the guy was just slapping way too much paint on all the furniture inside. So at that stage, I had just got, pretty much just got out of a taxi where a guy tried to scam me. So my patience was wearing thin, and I'd seen this hotel where the pictures on the website, which was just completely different to what I was getting. And so I just walked out, I handed him the key card and said, I'm not staying here, PayPal's gonna fix me up. Thank you very much. See you later. And so from there, I just went to a 2-star hotel that night that had a spare room, and you just pay cash. So I checked out the room before I stayed there, and that ended up being pretty good. And then I went on to booking.com, and I booked another hotel that ended up being cheaper and had a rooftop pool and a gym as well, and a included buffet breakfast. So when it comes to hotels, I'd probably recommend just actually coming to Vietnam on the spot and going to the hotel and checking it out first. and then saying, okay, I will stay here and pay the money. Because in the past, over all the different countries I've booked hotels with via booking.com or Agoda, I've never had a hotel been misrepresented this bad before. Anyway, the next thing that came out of all this was the young girl who was driving me around, Daisy. She was my translator and also my tour guide, which really was unexpected, because what had happened was when I got into Vietnam, my suitcase had been delayed a whole day. Apparently it didn't make it from the plane from Sydney to Vietnam because I had to transfer from the Gold Coast, and I had to wait another day for my suitcase. And what I do when I fly is I usually put pajamas on because it's really comfortable, and then when I get to the airport I'll change clothes from my suitcase and then I'll look normal. But since my suitcase was delayed a whole day, I'm walking through the streets of Vietnam in my pajamas, and they're like, okay, we're gonna deliver your goods to your hotel the next day. So it was just a nightmare the whole first day. So many things that happened where I tried to get scammed by a taxi driver, hotel was misrepresented, and my suitcase didn't show up. But that night I ended up crashing out, having a really good sleep, and I woke up and I just started looking for clothes. I was like, I need to have a shower, get some new clothes on. And that's when I stumbled into the store where Daisy was at. She had shirts for sale. Her auntie had shirts for sale. And they were like, okay, I was like, look, I'll just buy a shirt. I need anything. So I got this Vietnamese shirt with the star on it, and also some Faux King shirt. And I was like, look, do you have shorts, underwear, belt, and socks? And they were like, no, but we know a place where you can go to get that. And I was like, okay, can you help me out? And she was like, okay, go to my niece, she'll take you around the corner. And so I jumped on this scooter with her, and she took me there, and she spoke English, and she did all the translating to make sure I didn't get ripped off. And after that, I'd had a whole fresh new set of clothes. And when I got back to the shop where they took me to the other shop from, I just said to her, thanks, you're like the first person who A, hasn't tried to scam me, B's been really nice, and you know the city pretty well, and you speak English. So I said to her, do you want to be my tour guide? And she turned around and said, sure, I'll do that for you. So the trip just got better and better from there. My next hotel was really good. And then I just went around, did the whole parts hunt. Anywhere I wanted to go, she took me. And so there it all is with Vietnam. I was there for a total of 6 days. And it was crazy how cheap things were over there. Everything's really inexpensive. Of course, you do have to be mindful of being scammed by people. If there's no price list, I'd recommend going somewhere else. Price list is usually an easy way to say, hey, I'm not going to be getting scammed, whether it be you're eating lunch or you're getting a massage or you're getting some sort of product. Always look for a price list. It'll help you out. In terms of eating and not trying to get sick, definitely just go eat where everyone else is eating. Generally popular places will be popular for a reason. That's one thing I've learned from traveling around different places. And other than that, this has honestly been the most value extracted holiday I've ever had in my life. I think I changed over about 700 Aussie dollars, and I've still got like 150 Aussie dollars in my wallet in Vietnamese dong, and I've got like 5 graphics cards, and I ate like a king. And so your dollar does go very far when it comes to Vietnam and just living in general. So it was a really good experience, and also a big thanks to everyone who helped me out over there, especially Boo and also Daisy. You guys are awesome. Really made the trip so much fun. So I definitely want to go back there in the future, and I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. If you did, then be sure to hit that like button and let us know in the comments section below what you think of the whole Tech Yes travel adventures. Are you enjoying the international used parts hunts? Is there anything else you wish to know about how I travel? I can let you guys know in the comment section below. And with that said, love each and every one of you, and I'll catch you in another tech video very soon. Peace out for now. Bye.